we are slowly starting with our event. I'm in the first couple of minutes. I'm here to welcome you and present you shortly what we will be talking about, and then we will proceed with the 15-minute introduction to EU and public-backed investment platforms. I would like to thank Mr. Jean-François Marchand from Energy Invest that is going to present the introduction and the way these platforms work. Then we will have a short Q&A for Mr. Marchand, where you can ask your questions on these investment platforms. Then we will proceed with Ms. Eva Petkova from the Fund for Local Authorities and Governments in Bulgaria. Thank you, Ms. Petkova, also for joining us. So in this particular presentation, we will see one investment platform in action, so how it plays out in a local context and how cities make use of it. And we are, in this case, focusing on the, of course, Bulgarian context. This presentation too will be followed by a short Q&A for Ms. Petkova. And then after this setting of stage and learning about the investment platforms, we will proceed with an interactive part of this event, for which we prepared a couple of questions and a Miro board for all the participants, where we can open a discussion on how we can best make use of this investment platform for CCAP implementation we will see maybe if it also works for other parts related to CCAPs. So, and of course, towards the end, we will close it. We will sum up our impressions and close and wrap up for the day. Very quickly, as I mentioned, this session will be recorded. If I would kindly ask you that while presenters are presenting, that you make sure that you are muted. And if you wish to ask your questions, you can use the chat box for that, or you can raise your hand and jump in directly. This will also be the case with the Miro board. So I will now wrap up this introductory part and would kindly ask Mr. Marchand to proceed with the EU-backed and public-backed investment platforms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so quick introduction to public-backed investment platform, and more specifically to D1 targeting energy efficiency. So the concept of an investment platform, basically, it's a blended financing instrument that blends funds coming from different type of investors. But in the sense of the European Fund for Strategic Investment, it has a small specific definition. This is a financing structure which are designed to overcome market failure or suboptimal investment situation on the market, which are caused by financing barriers such as risk perception, limited access to capital, or limited viability. And within those financing structure, we use public funds that take the position of first loss or the concessional position, and they are used to blend crowding private and additional public funds thanks to the leverage effect of the capital or the risk relief made possible by the public fund. And the position first loss and concessional, it's basically designed with appropriate public financing instruments such as risk mitigation or co-financing, refinancing instrument, or in certain circumstances also grant instrument that specifically aim to remove existing barriers that leads to the suboptimal investment situation. And why we do that? It's to allow the possibility to aggregate and pool both elements, smaller and or riskier projects, but also investors, in a common program that could be designed on, with a focus on a geographic sector or a sectoral thematic scope, such as energy efficiency or building renovation. And you see in the figures that public funds are there to protect other investors and mainly private investors to be able to leverage those investors and to protect them all along the financing ladder at the investment platform level, firstly, but also at the project level. When you have some intervention of public funds, you can help to project owners to leverage additional finance on the commercial market, for instance, but also at the financing product itself. We explain that a little bit later when coming to the implementation pathway for investment platform. And so the market failures are quite common. So most of them come from high perceived risk by the traditional markets, commercial banks and traditional investors. And that's where we use public financing mechanism to remove those risks. That could be guarantee instrument or risk-sharing instruments. Other barriers are mainly limited access to capital or long-term capital. And there also we use public financing mechanisms to supply additional long-term finance, and that could be direct financing mechanisms such as soft loans or co-investment instruments, or also in some circumstances refinancing instrument. And finally, some barrier on the markets are really related to the limited financial viability of the project, while they are socially viable. And there we can use a mechanism to cover the gaps in the financial viability, either through grant elements or different option by using grants. So the typical funding structure using first loss and concessional public finance are based on the six presented here model, and where the position of the public fund will help to crowd in within the investment platform private investor with a preferred position against the public position, and you can have layer structure. Generally, it's a layered fund structure which are developed and where public funds can bring subordinated or junior equity or either in debt investment fund structure that could bring mezzanine or junior debt. You can have also granting structure where the public fund is only there to provide guarantees that cover parts of the loss, potential loss, or the first loss of the program. And the guarantee could be delivered under a typical guarantee mechanism, but also under a way of grant, depending the configuration of the investment platform. The grant is supposed to cover the first loss of the program made by the investment platform. And you can finally have pool structure, which basically use senior debts that come with concessional terms in order to allow to pass to the final beneficiaries improved terms and to help to provide additional funding on the market. That could be also developed with grants and applied, for instance, to, I would say, limited viability of a project. The way to implement an investment platform, and again, this is related to the regulation developed under the European Fund for Strategic Investment, which is today replaced by InvestEU. So you have basically four types of implementation pathway. Either you could set up a special purpose investment vehicle, basically a fund, where you step in different co-investors and develop an agreement with the fund manager to deploy the investment program. And that could be loan funds, forfeiting funds, equity fund, or multi-purpose funds that deliver directly their product to the final recipient, but they could also go through existing and qualified public or private financing institution that could intermediate the program. And there you have other way to organize investment platforms, such as the management account model, the contract-based co-financing model, with the risk-sharing arrangement. And there you have a specific type of, I would say, end user final recipient financing product that can be offered on lending instrument or risk-sharing loan instrument or grant instrument. The source of funding for an investment platform on the side of the public funds with a potential for a first loss of concessional position.
I just apologize for interrupting. We have a comment in the chat about the slides. I'm not sure whether it is intended. We only see the first slide.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yes, flexible arrangement. Okay, thank you.
I don't know why it doesn't work when I launch the diaporama. So now you still see the first slide?
Now we see flexible arrangement options and implementation pathways.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so sorry. What do you see now? Flexible arrangement, is that right?
Yes, we see flexible arrangements, yes.
Okay. So sorry, coming back to the source of funding. So there you have different options, and for sure the three key main options remain from, I would say, international financing institutions such as EIB and EBRD, and I will showcase an example later, where you can find about all the potential, I would say, contributions, equity, junior equity, mezzanine, junior debt, senior debt guarantees and grants. Indeed, also the European structural funds via member state managing authority, where you can also try to leverage from public funds. And national, regional, local public funds, there also you can find some of them. And there is also an opportunity today through the European Recovery and Resilience Funds, again via the member states, but also national promotional banks and institutions, which are quite keen to invest in such a financing instrument, and finally some potential public institution and investors. But in the 7 years to come, we will have also the opportunity to try to leverage intervention from the InvestEU framework, which is basically managed by the European Investment Bank. And this is typically, I would say, risky investment fund, which benefits from the European guarantee and that help to increase the risk-sharing capacities of the investment platform and the public fund that are delivered. Some figures on the existing investment platform. We have performed an analysis of the platform that were set up during the European Fund for Strategic Investment Framework.
Again, we still see only the flexible arrangement options. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I go Latin. That will be better. So there were about 51 investment platforms that has been approved, signed, or pre-approved, and I think at the end of the framework, it was almost 16. We see a good split between different type of arrangements, but mostly it's a special purpose vehicle that has been developed. One thing which is quite interesting is to see the weight average of the financing. EFSI deliver about 6 billion euro to those platforms. They leverage more than 40 billion euro, which is much more than all the other, in comparison, all the other EFSI interventions that were supposed to leverage 600 billion euro of investment. It's mainly national focus and more specifically topic focus. We see that About half of the investment platform were targeting, I would say, support to SMEs, but also investment in environment, resource efficiency, and energy. Almost half of the investment platform have been set up by national promotion banks and institutions, showing that they are a key player in the development of such investment platform. And we see at the opposite that there is not a lot of local regional authorities that were involved in the development of investment platform, and that was mostly managing authority of member states that were potentially more advanced in the financing instrument design. And this is mainly two big countries that have trusted almost half of the investment platform set up at date. It is France and Italy, followed by Spain and other smaller countries. The typical arrangement we see in the energy efficiency sector, it's mainly co-financing arrangement and structure that are linked to what we call program loan, with a program loan framework to a services company. It's based on a risk-sharing loan funding by EFSI. And we see several investment platforms, mainly in France, but also in Spain and in Poland. There were also a lot of risk-sharing agreements with mainly guarantee mechanism to support loan to SMEs, mid-cap, and projects. And there it's more spread within the countries in Europe. And finally, specialized investment funds, which develop investment with enhanced risk appetite, riskier project or SMEs and mid-caps. And they can provide, the funding from EFSI was in the form of loan equity or cash equity. And we see there several, I would say, energy efficiency funds or infrastructure fund that has been set up either by, here it's much more local regional authorities or private players in the market that take the opportunity to set up such an investment platform. And finally, one example of a typical energy efficiency investment platform is the one set up by VIPA in Lithuania. VIPA is the national promotion institution of the country. And they have set up and they operate since EFSI-backed investment platform. And this is a special purpose vehicle, debt fund basically, that provide preferential loans with a maturity up to 10 years to a specific project. And in this case, they promote three types of projects, mainly developing solar photovoltaic projects in residential building sector. And for that, they provide direct loans to public-private bodies and ESCOs. They also provide direct loans to renewable energy plants developers, which are specifically dedicated for remote prosumers. And another line of investment is shallow renovation of heating system in condominium, for which they provide direct loans to ESCOs or condominium administrators. But they were also willing to push further the development of the scheme, and so they have evaluated through European H2020 project, which is called CTZ, the possibility to engage with citizen funding. And they are close to set up a framework with a peer-to-peer platform, crowdfunding platform, where they will co-invest with those crowdfunding platforms, solar photovoltaic project within residential buildings. And the framework will be developed under three parts of co-funding. One part coming from the investment platform at concessional terms, one part coming from the peer-to-peer platform at market, with negotiation on the market return on investment, and finally the citizen investment through the peer-to-peer platform at a market basis. So this is a really interesting example of investment platform at local scales and small scales. The investment platform intend to leverage at the end over 100 million euro. And they have benefit of contribution from EFSI of 12.5 million euro through the European Investment Bank. But also they have a second agreement with the European Reconstruction Bank for the same amount, and they have a private investors, which is the European Energy Efficiency Funds that bring 10 million euro in equity. And so the contribution from EIB and the European Development Bank, it's long-term loans on 10-year scales. Thank you. I close my presentation here. I'm ready to answer some questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this introduction in how these platforms work, for also giving the concrete examples from about the platforms in different countries, and diving a little bit deeper into one concrete, the Lithuanian one. Now, if our participants have any questions, I invite you to raise your hand or write your question in the chat box. But while maybe you are formulating the question or typing it, I would have one. So let's say that I'm a municipality that is now exploring these investment platforms for the implementation of my sustainable energy and climate action plan, but I have very little experience in this field. What would you say would maybe be first steps a municipality should take in exploring this financing option?
Indeed, this is really, I would say, ambitious project to develop an investment platform, and that required a lot of expertise in finance and legal development of financing instruments. And today, I would advise the municipality to first get in touch with the regional or national managing authority, which have normally some experience in developing financing instruments, and to see how to align with their potential, I would say, key objective they have in their framework program. And another possibility is to go have engage discussion with the national promotion institution that can play a real key role. And those both institutions can become what we call IP sponsor. And they could, I would say, try to develop, to bear the project on behalf of, I would say, the municipalities, and potentially also having the idea to crowd in other municipalities within the same framework. Most of the time, issues are quite similar. And today, for instance, with CTZ, we try to develop that in Croatia with Regea, which is, I would say, a well-established energy agency, but we see that it remains really difficult. So you really need to have a strong support either from managing authorities or national promotion institution, or maybe also private bodies, which are already well developed, for instance, that know how to set up a fund and that have a target and objective which are similar to the municipality.
Thank you very much. So assuring also the municipality should consider the capacity before also engaging in this financing tab. So we have one participant, Celia, asking again for the contact. So if possible, we can share it in the chat box or via the email address when we share the presentation afterwards. So I don't see any other additional question in the chat box, nor I see some hands in the air. So I would proceed with the next presentation. Thank you very much. Yes.
Just maybe one last word to complete. If you look at the existing investment platforms, some of them have been set up by municipalities. Denmark, in Netherlands, mainly in Netherlands, but those municipalities in Netherlands are quite used to develop financing instruments, but this is possible.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Marchand. And now I would proceed and invite Ms. Petkova. I do apologize that we maybe are starting a little bit later than foreseen in agenda with your presentation. I hope it will still be okay. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for your kind invitation. I will ask you, Andrea, only if you could change the slides and of my presentation, because I still have troubles with it.
Of course, no problem. Now, I
Okay.
think I am sharing the presentation. Okay, we can start.
Thank you. Let me begin with a quick introduction of myself. My name is Iva Petkova, and I'm part of FundFlag since the beginning of its operation in 2009, 12 years ago. Since 2012, I'm tightly involved in the implementation of the financial instruments for urban development, and having perspective both on municipal financing and non-financial instruments. Me and my colleagues were very tightly involved in the structuring of this Bulgarian urban investment and advisory platform. It's quite interesting, though not the usual investment platform that Mr. Marchand has addressed in his presentation. The Bulgarian Urban Investment and Advisory Platform is unique because it's the first EU-backed platform that represents a co-investment facility focused on financing municipalities, municipal companies, and other entities providing public services. But its main focus are municipalities. So I think that today's presentation will be useful for all those people from municipalities that are here with us in the seminar, how effectively national promotional institutions like FundFlag can address their needs for infrastructural investments. Next slide, please. Here is the structure of my presentation. I will give you some insights on its scope, objectives, key factors, the setup and timeline, as well as the investment strategy and what's next on our agenda. Next slide. The aim of our platform is to support the sustainable urban development. So if I should begin, the platform generally corresponds to the definition of an investment platform. It pulls smaller and riskier municipal projects in certain sectors, providing long-term preferential loans, and it was established with the full support of the European Investment Bank. On the other side, it has some specific features. It is not among those 51 investment platforms that were created under the EFSI site. It was established as a complementary mechanism of the urban development funds, thus trying to address the market failures that UDFs didn't address. Namely that only 39 of 265 municipalities are eligible for funding under the UDFs. So this platform was meant to be as a complementary mechanism to these UDFs, but also to target the investment gaps of smaller and medium municipalities in Bulgaria, which really showed some demand for infrastructural and small-scale investment projects. Next slide, please. What were the key factors for the setup? We may distinguish three main factors. First, it's the experience with financial instruments for urban development. As I've said, we have almost 10 years of experience in this field. So it was very useful when establishing this platform. Moreover, the role of FundFlag was quite an important one because it proved to be quite a strong local manager with track record proven. So you may see the results of FundFlag speak for themselves. It is 100% state-owned fund, and it has more than 10 years of experience with municipal investment projects, 7 years experience with financial instruments for urban development. It has financed more than 220 out of 265 municipalities with loans around 1 billion euro. So it was a very renowned partner of Bulgarian municipalities. Even a few days ago, the National Association of Municipalities in Bulgaria, which we work in a tight cooperation, has awarded us a recognition for our work in the last 12 years. Next slide, please. About the setup and timeline of the platform, it was built as a strategic relationship between the European Investment Bank, the FundFlag, and the fund of funds, that is the fund manager of the urban development funds. You may see on the diagram from 2018 till 2020, it was a preparatory phase where we were in a process of negotiation. Even an EFSI platform was then negotiated. But in 2020, it was decided that it will be structured as a complementary mechanism to the urban development funds. In January 2020 was signed a memorandum of understanding that brought all the stakeholders in this platform together, the European Investment Bank, a FundFlag, and the Fund of Funds, as well as the European Investment and Advisory Hub that provided the Fund of Funds with an advisory support targeted to these municipal projects. In fact, the Fund of Funds selected a pool of experts to support these projects in feasibility studies, business plan assessments, legal consulting, etc. In July 2020 was signed the finance contract between FundFlag and the European Investment Bank. European Investment Bank provided 25 million euro, and FundFlag has committed at least 25 million euro on its side. September 2020, the platform was started, officially launched in our website. So a lot of municipalities has addressed their demands for financing. You may see in less than a year, the platform is fully contracted. It even surpassed this 100 million level, 50 million euro that were intended, and now around 70 million are allocated to these projects. Next slide, please. Here is a nice picture from the signature of the Memorandum of Understanding. Back then, the Deputy Vice President of EIB, Mrs. Liliana Pavlova, was present at this signature. So this is the whole team that was behind the setup of this ambitious platform. Next slide. In short, about the investment strategy, the platform is implemented in all municipalities across Bulgaria. The final recipients, as I've said, can be either municipalities, municipal companies, or entities responsible for provision of public services. The product is long-term preferential loans with tenor up to 20 years. The resource is mixed at portfolio level, and the final recipient receives the funding at the best average price. All projects must comply with the EU environmental procurement and state aid legislation, and FLAG is engaged with the strict monitoring of the implementation of these projects. Next slide. In respect of the investment portfolio, here are the eligible sectors. And you may see that most interest was displayed for small-scale infrastructural projects that are main for road reconstruction, water and sewerage system reconstruction, urban green areas, and renovation and reconstruction of public buildings, including implementation of energy efficiency measures. Next slide. Here are two examples which I couldn't show previous time when was the Sustainable Energy Investment Forum, because these projects weren't yet completed, but by now we have two very good examples of how we support small and medium Bulgarian municipalities, especially for projects for energy efficiency. And here are two of them. Both are municipalities in Bulgaria, small municipalities with a population around 9,000 people. And the first project is for installation of solar panels on rooftops of public buildings, namely kindergarten, school, and an administrative building of the municipality. You may see how small its size, so it can never apply for EIB funding if Fund Flag wasn't on this side of the platform. And another very nice project, it's for total renovation and implementation of energy efficiency measures in a public swimming pool in the municipality of Publiceni. Again, a very small project, but with important results for the people living in Publiceni. And the energy efficiency class has risen from G to A, as solar panels were also put on the roof of this swimming pool. And we are inspired to continue with more focus on energy efficiency and renewables. We have seen the last couple of months a strong demand from municipalities for such kind of projects. And we would like Fund Flag to continue its very good work with municipalities, addressing their needs when they really need them, not later on. So the timing of this platform turned to be a very good one. Next slide, please. Probably the most important, the lessons learned from the platform. Yes, municipalities need financing for energy efficiency and for small-scale infrastructural projects now, though they are at the forefront of national resilience and recovery plans, and are quite substantial beneficiaries under the operational programs. They still experience quite substantial investment gaps, and platforms can provide timely and flexible financing to municipalities in order to help them with the twin challenge of green and digital transition. The local experienced partner is a prerequisite of success, and Flag proved to be a very good aggregator of projects of small and medium municipalities in Bulgaria. The success of this platform is due to the preparatory phase, which was hidden, but we worked very close for the success of this platform almost 2 years before its actual start. And now we bear the fruits with a very successful allocation of this platform. What is last but not least, one of the main lessons is that the technical support is crucial for ambitious projects, either in the sphere of energy efficiency, renewables, or for more ambitious infrastructural projects. And we foresee that such technical support should be embedded in the platform in order to correspond to the needs of the municipalities. Next slide, please. What's next? FLAG works quite diligently on extending this investment platform with more clearer focus on energy efficiency and renewables, promoting green transition to municipalities, filling the gaps and complementing the funding opportunities. We would like to have an extension of the platform, either with a pilot one or with a dedicated share of investments to green transition. And we hope that in 2022, we'll have some good news and a new branch of this platform to be showcased in such seminars as this one organized by the Covenant of Mayors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Okay, I will now stop sharing. I think I'm back. Yes, thank you very much. And now it's a time also for a question for Ms. Petkova. And let's see if we have something in the chat or we have some hand that is risen. While maybe our participants are coming up with a question, I also have one. So we saw that there were 2 completed projects. Congratulations. So I was wondering, from the point of view municipality, what do you think were key success factors of those 2 projects? And what might have been challenges that they have successfully overcome to come to a successful completion?
The projects were both of very small municipalities, as I've said. So in general, smaller municipalities have limited administrative capacity, especially for more green-oriented projects. And here we provided through the Fund of Funds technical support for the Public project in order to be fully operational and really in the framework of renovation, full renovation of deep renovation of this swimming pool. So we consider that the main factors that FunFLAG is preferred by all Bulgarian municipalities is that we work in very close cooperation. My colleagues are really very cooperative, and municipalities know that they can call to their account managers and ask them whatever question they have. And that FunFLAG expert can help them from the technical expertise to financial expertise in order to structure in the best way the financing from us. So we have really established a very good cooperation. There is trust between us, so it's easy to work when the relations are set on such a stable conditions.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. And a similar question that I had for our previous speaker: if a municipality maybe is only starting to consider this kind of investments for their CCAP plans, now that you have a bit more extensive experience with small municipalities, what would your recommendations also on some first steps be?
Most of the Bulgarian municipalities have not made larger steps for the implementation of such plans. In fact, only the major municipalities have adopted them and still are not working very diligently on them. Even in the framework of the urban development funds, though we can finance, for example, integrated urban transport investments, we haven't seen such. So in Bulgaria, it will take a longer time for for implementation of these projects. Probably we may share more experience in the coming years, but for now, I could not elaborate more on that.
Thank you very much. Well, we hope so too that we will, as of 2022, continue seeing you and continue see the completed projects. We especially like this sharing of these good practices in the community for the inspiration, because it's true in larger municipalities and cities. On the other hand, it is a little bit easier to find these investments, but exactly it's the small municipalities that are also in the need and have projects that are urgent, but there might not be as big as an investment for some traditional. So I think it is great to see and be able to share these practices as well. So I did not see any questions in the chat, unfortunately, nor hand reasons. So I think that thank you very much for this fantastic presentation and for answering my questions.
Thank you.
And yes, I